Welcome to OState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad you decided to tune in. It's been a very busy couple of days for the winter sports as wrestling Monday night took down NC State in a big duel. Lost the first match of the night. It was kind of a surprise there. Troy Spratley, he was facing an opponent that was ranked number 16 coming in, so there's never really a surprise in terms of being a big surprise or anything, but I think most people are expecting Spratley to win. Did not win that first match, hotly contested. I'll be very interested to see if Spratley gets a rematch with that I can't remember the name of the NC State wrestler, sometime down the line in a tournament, maybe the Nationals, something like that, but a hotly contested match there. Cowboys lost the first match of the night and then won the remainder to absolutely rout NC State, who was ranked number 7 coming in. And then, man, the basketball teams last night. Wow. Carbon copies of both games. The men got down 27 points in the first half, went on a gigantic run, and then came back and got within 3. The same thing the Cowgirls did. Now, when the men got down back to within 3, there was still like 13 minutes left. But when the girls did it, they actually had a 3-point shot from Staley Hurd at the buzzer to try to tie the game, could not make it. But got to say, let's start. We're going to spend probably most of our time on wrestling in this podcast because it was an exciting match. And to be honest with you, the men's team, there's not a whole lot to talk about right now. It's just pretty disappointing the way that they're playing. We'll get into them. And then the women's team has had a really, really, really good year this far, but just got to say, man, going on the road to a team in Houston that has not won a game in conference. That game, although there were some great signs, you got down 26 points, came all the way back, had a chance to tie it at the end. All of that is great. Still, bottom line is, if this program wants to become a program where we want it to be, like a Final Four type contender, those are the types of games you can't come out flat and lose. You need to go down there and handle business in Houston. So disappointing that the Cowgirls did not take care of business there. But hey, Staley Hurd, Micah Gray both had big games again on Tuesday night, scoring 17. Staley Hurd did. Micah Gray scored 16. And then Anna Gret-Aussie, if you remember, she had the half-court shot on Saturday against West Virginia. She also added 16 as well. And so, again, scoring wasn't the problem except for the end of the first half. The Cowgirls went like the last 5 minutes of the first half and didn't score, and that's when Houston really kind of extended their lead and put the Cowgirls behind the 8 ball and made it a big-time catch-up game for the second half. So for the most part, the offense was good. It did go through the one stretch that gave Houston the ability to extend their lead, but overall, defensively, Houston shot 52% from the floor. They made 7 of their 23-point shots they made, and Houston had 19 assists and scored 79 points. So anytime you give up 79 points and a shooting percentage at 52%, that's not a night. On the road, if you go on the road, I don't care how good you are. It's like in football. If you go on the road and you don't stop the other team's running game, then you could lose. I don't care how good you are. And that's exactly what happened to the Cowgirls. And it was disappointing because early in the week on Monday, we found out that OSU just entered the top 25 at number 24, and they had 2 really good wins last week. You remember the disappointing home loss about 4 games ago against Kansas. They had put that in the rearview mirror. They had 2 really good wins last week on the road at Cincinnati, at home against a nationally ranked West Virginia team. And again, they were set up to play a winless Houston team at Houston, and it just looked like, for all the world, it was just kind of a setup to where the Cowgirls should win, come back home, and enjoy the top 25 ranking, something to that point they had earned, but it just didn't happen. And again, Houston got out to a 26-point lead, and here's the amazing thing about the girls' game last night. The lead for Houston was still 18 with 3:54 to go in the game. So the Cowgirls shaved 15 points off of the lead for Houston basically in the last 3 minutes and 45 seconds of the game. That's incredible. 21 points from the 3:54 mark of the game on. Imagine if the Cowgirls had played like that all night. And again, had a 3-point shot at the buzzer from Staley Hurd to give them a chance to win. Just couldn't do it. With the loss, now the Cowgirls are 14-3 overall, 4-2 in conference play. Houston is now 5-12. And again, that was their very first win in conference play last night. As far as the men's team goes, it was kind of a carbon copy of this last weekend. Oklahoma State stayed over in Utah. Saturday, they played the Utah Utes in Salt Lake City. And then Tuesday, it was to Provo, Utah to play BYU. Carbon copies. Slow start, big physical team on the other side that Oklahoma State took forever to adjust to. So here's what's happening to OSU. Other teams with size, it's taking OSU getting into like a 27-point deficit, which is what it was Tuesday night. It was a big deficit Saturday. They're getting in big holes before they're figuring out what they can do to combat the size of other teams, and there's really no other way to put it. Tuesday night, the first half for Oklahoma State basketball was pitiful. I mean, it was just a terrible half of basketball. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I don't mean that to sound negative, and I hope anybody, if any of the players or coaches are watching this, I hope you don't think that it feels like I'm throwing you under the bus or anything like that, but it's just a fact. It was terrible basketball in the first half Tuesday night, to the point to where Oklahoma State had as many turnovers as they did made shots in the first half, right? They had 8 turnovers and 8 made shots in the first half. BYU made 15 of the first 25 shots. They hit 42% of their three-pointers, and OSU at the half not only had as many turnovers as they did made shots, they shot just 25% from the floor. And then even worse than that, they were just 6 for 11 from the free throw line. So there's just nothing to draw on from the first half of Saturday, other than the fact that Oklahoma State did show some life late in the first half. They went on a run, and after OSU, so they went on a run. They got down 27 points. They outscored BYU by 7 points in the last 5 minutes or so of the first half. So they entered halftime down 20 points. Yeah, because like I said, the deficit was 42-15 with actually it was 3:23 left in the first half. OSU was down 42-15 and then finished the last 3:23 of the first half on an 11-4 run and cut that 27-point lead down to 20 at halftime. Came out of the halftime locker room and looked great, to be honest with you. Outscored BYU 22-11 in the first 6 minutes and 37 seconds of the second half. So basically, not basically, but exactly 10 minutes of game time in the last 10 minutes of game time. As far as the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, OSU went on a 33-9 run. And with a little over 13 minutes to go, pulled the game to within 3 points. But what happens when you come back from big deficits like that is that your margin for error is 0, and then it takes so much energy and effort to get back to getting close to the other team that by the time it's just impossible to sustain the level of effectiveness that you have to come back from a lead like that, the level of perfectness. Everything has to go perfect. All the other team's shots have to miss. The referees have to not call fouls on you. All of your shots have to go in. So all the execution piece has to be perfect. And then your energy level has to be like at octane 7,000, right? And so to come back from a lead like that, it's just impossible to sustain over a long period of time. Oklahoma State couldn't. And so after they pulled within 3 at a little over 13 minutes to go, BYU quickly extended their lead back to double digits and never really looked back. So all in all, hey, if you want to look at the positive, Oklahoma State went on a long run and showed you that they can do damage against a team with length. They're capable of it. That big long run they went over a 10-minute span shows you that there is enough talent on this team to be competitive in the Big 12. The negative is the first half was terrible. Oklahoma State has to figure out a way to start faster, and they have to figure out a way to get into games and figure out their adjustments before they're down 27 points. So yet kind of another disappointing loss, I would have to say, at this point in the season. It is not looking good in terms of the Big 12 record. Oklahoma State is squarely staring down a losing record on the season and a Big 12 year to where they might win, 2, 3, maybe 4 games? So that's what you're looking at right now. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully I'm being overly negative or just kind of overly unoptimistic, if you're pessimistic, if you will, in saying that. And I really hope that's the case. But as of right now, man, it's really tough looking. Big game coming up Saturday, 2 o'clock inside Gallagher-Iba Arena. Colorado comes into town for the first time since they left the Big 12. So another long team. It's going to be another challenge for the Oklahoma State men's team.